How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Defiant Lion Show. I am joined back with my first guest, Karim Khan, coming all the way from Pakistan. How you doing, Karim?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. I understand that you just celebrated a holiday.
Yes, Eid. It celebrates the end of the month of Ramadan in which we fasted for a whole month.
Oh wow! Now, obviously, you didn't go without eating the entire month.
No, no, it's from dawn to sunset.
Oh, okay. I see. Um, yeah. So, speaking of which customs in your area, we're going to be talking about American privilege today because on our last show we kind of went off of talking about white privilege and how it's really American privilege. So I figured good opportunity to kind of get a learning experience of what it's like in the everyday travels of a Pakistani named Karim Khan. Um, so anything that you would find you would think that Americans would find unusual about your area, how you live day to day lives.
Yeah, I think whole ton of stuff. I've said this before, but I think one of the things that the Western media gets wrong is they kind of want to present every other country as this one monolithic, like this. Okay, this is our iconic presentation of what this country is like. I think I think every country doesn't work that way. What happens is you have segments in every country which differ from each other, even culturally and so what. So I think that's what a lot of Americans would be surprised by. It's like, oh, this is what happens in Pakistan. No, that's just what happens in a particular region in Pakistan,
Mm.
which BBC or CNN decided to focus on. There's a lot of variety and a lot of contrast in terms of cultural dynamics and social dynamics. You know.
Oh yeah, because you were mentioning the last one that one neighborhood is just vastly different from the next neighborhood.
It is.
Even and that's kind of similar in America.
I'd
So
say similar.
oop,
It being that complex, if they like things to be just simple.
I think I need to fix your sound a little bit. Say something.
Hello, testing. One, two, three.
Okay, I hear you now. Sound like you dropped something.
Completely unite. Does that sound better?
No, I think we're good now. I think it was just a little bit of feedback. Um, yeah. So, if you missed the first episode, Karam explained how Oh, do you have microphone at all or
Microphone. No,
headset?
headphone.
Yeah,
Head-
if you can
Oh,
put
you
on your
use
headset.
that from your own. Okay, all right. Let me just see if this is better. Hold on.
Yeah, because I think I'm getting my feedback.
All right.
Is this better?
You hear me all right?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Is there
So,
less feedback now?
yeah, it sounds like there's a little less feedback. A little bit of buzz. No, okay, it's good now. All right. Sorry about that, everyone.
Okay.
Um, so if you missed the first episode, Carmen talked about how every neighborhood kind of differentiates from each other, and every political change means drastic changes for the entire country. Um, I don't think we're quite like that in America. I think things change a little bit, and I think everyone overreacts to whoever the president is, and acting like things change a lot. Where really, realistically, the day to day things just end up being the same.
I I think another reason why that happens is, in my opinion, from what I've seen on Facebook and all the people who are American who I've interacted with on Facebook, is there tends to be there's a tendency to just make everything polarized. I mean, if you look at some of these topics that come out a lot and they're always heated, like politics, right? It's either
Hmm.
like, I mean, fine, you have the libertarians, but and the vast majority is either left or right, you know.
Oh
If
yeah.
you if you come, I mean, okay, so like just right a little while ago, I was reading up on abortion, right?
Hmm.
And it's really uncanny because that's not how it works anywhere else. Is that you're either pro-life, right, which
Hmm.
is from conception till forever, or you're pro-choice, which is, it should be allowed till birth. And it's fascinating how there's no camp really that goes, yeah, I'm pro-life till here, but I'm pro-choice till this point, but not in late term, or any kind of variation on that. There are no variations. So I kind of see that as a theme amongst with most debates that I've seen Americans have.
Oh yeah.
My
I mean,
observation.
I imagine abortion isn't legal at all over there.
That's something they'll be surprised at, because we're religious, we're theocracy. Abortion is not illegal in Pakistan.
Oh, it's not.
No. And see, and that's the part. It's not really legal either. It just goes along the lines of, okay. So for example, one of the problems with most of these debates is always through a Western lens, right?
Yeah,
And
of
even
course.
people over here who would be interested in this topic, they'll be looking at YouTube videos on abortion, and the context they'll be getting is, okay, so primarily pro-life are going to be Christians,
Hmm.
right? uh, and that forms the basis of the whole debate being black and white, because in Christianity, according to what I've understood and what the vast majority of people have said, life begins at conception. But
Hmm.
in other religions, that's not always the case. Since that's not always the case, in other regions, that debate is not going to be as black and white.
Right, right. I can kind of understand, but I'm not really too familiar with the different customs to really um, understand it fully. Could you
I
elaborate
mean,
a little more?
it's
Like
just, yeah, yeah. I
how
mean,
do you
just
guys view it?
okay. It's just an example of how conversations, even conversations, will differ from one country to another. So, like,
Hmm.
okay, so in Islam, right, uh, life does not begin at conception, right? So,
Okay.
according to your denomination, it's either 40 days or after 120 days, right?
Okay.
Now, forget the, like, okay, what does that mean debate? But at the end of the day, if you really think about it, that on its own will change the dynamics of the abortion debate,
Hmm.
right? Because like if you have, I mean, we're used to uh, people who feel that on social media that life begins at conception, then their debate in abortion is going to be very different from somebody who does believe life starts but not from conception, a little later on. That
Hmm.
debate and that dynamic will be so different than what most Westerners are used to.
Oh yeah, but I think that the big divider in the debates that I mean, some of the groups that we're in, they actually had to ban the topic just because it was overused so much, and it's
Yeah.
either one or two things: either people think it's a life like right at conception, or people just like don't think it's a life pretty much until it's born, or
Yeah.
at least the 3 months bumper.
I,
Um,
that's the thing. I mean, if you read some of the latest one, it seems to have gone till birth itself. So it's kind of crazy. The
yeah,
level of polarization is pretty crazy. I feel we kind of like we get more third narratives over here, in my opinion, in my observation. That's what I like to term them, third narratives. It's neither this camp nor that camp.
Well,
So
what we have over here is we have states' rights. So, like, every state has a right to govern their own way
yeah,
in certain degrees, where the federal government doesn't really, cover. And
mm,
abortion is one of those things. So, two laws got passed over the last year in America that have really hit the headlines, and these are on both sides of the spectrum. New York,
yeah, yeah, New York, yeah,
I forget the actual details, but I think it was like all the way up to birth is legal. They basically stretched it to a very new precedent that you haven't seen before. And then I believe it was Alabama. Can't
Alabama,
believe Alabama. Thank
yeah,
you. Can't believe I forgot that it was everywhere for like a whole month. Made the law about prosecuting the doctors that do it, or
Yeah.
there would be some kind of arrest involved, some kind of penalty involved for performing abortions.
Yeah, so I
And
was following that. And it's like it's amazing how polarized and extreme those two stances are.
mm, yeah, and both on both sides, it's like each time one of those stories came up, like people on both sides just went completely nuts. Because
I just get a little. I mean, because obviously I'm not used to it the way Americans might not be used to some things over here. I just get a little baffled as to why are there only two sides to this, or in a lot of the subject and topics that come up.
well, there's more than two sides because everyone has their own nuanced opinion about it. For example, like some people will only think that it's okay for cases of rape or to save the mother's life, or either or of those. Some people will say that there's the 3 month period, and the 9 months is too far. Some people are like, oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
Some
but
people,
but but what I've noticed is like these some people they I don't see them this like a like-minded view like that coming together as a group voice, right? To see
mm,
the pro-choice or pro-life, and that's the thing. It's like I don't see I don't see uh, other voices. I mean, they're there, but other voices being as loud or as prominent or getting as much coverage. You know?
yeah, well, know what it is. It's and I always stress this: the loudest people in the room get noticed the most, and the loudest people in the room are always um the one-sided, the black and white people. That's like it's either this way or nothing at all.
True.
And that's why you see such either black and white this issue, because the average person isn't talking about this. It's all the people that gather in the chat rooms to actually debate and are passionate about the topic.
That's true. I mean, let's be honest. My exposure to Americans is through Facebook and social media, so
Yeah,
I might be getting it all wrong.
yeah. Actually, I was just making that point. About our other subject. Mr. Donald Trump.
Mm.
That a lot of people were kind of silent Trump supporters. Like, I had worked with guys that, working class guys, and, they would like, they would tell me that they were a Trump supporter, but they were very, very quiet about it. They didn't want their, opinions known, especially with all the ruckus going on, for lack of a better word, because it's like, if you vote for Trump, you're a traitor, all that kind of good stuff.
That is true. That's something I observed and noticed over here as well. Because
Yeah,
American politics matter to the rest of the world. They really do.
yeah. I think more to an extent, places like where you live rather than places like Britain, because they're their
Yeah.
own big established nation. I'm sure you know that Trump went over to Britain to meet the Queen and the royal family and all that. Greeted by a bunch of protesters, and you're seeing all these crazy things on the internet, and it's just like imagine being in Britain and care about American politics at this point, past 1776.
And yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I mean, it's different there. But like, okay, look, for example, a lot of the Middle East and the subcontinent and all that. See, who wins in the American elections? It literally is a matter of life and death for us.
Mm.
Who is more likely to bomb us? Which administration is going to bomb us more? So, yeah, in many ways, we have higher stakes in American politics than even America.
Oh yeah, yeah, I completely agree. And it's like we feel the strain of some of the decisions that the voters make on our behest enough. I mean, I can only imagine what it's like for you guys. Um,
Oh, just in case there's somebody watching who didn't watch the first episode, Trump supporter. So
yeah,
just so you know.
yeah. Kerm is a Trump supporter. He's a Muslim Trump supporter. And I understand because Hillary Clinton would have been absolutely disastrous for that area. She was talking
Yes.
about the first thing that came out of her mouth in the campaign trail was that she was going to put a no-fly zone over Syria. and that's just gonna set off the whole fireworks of the whole fucking
Yes.
region.
So, Allah be praised. Trump won. Very cool. Very good.
You know what,
Inshallah,
like
2020. Yes, we will go. We in our mosque will do the congregational prayer for Trump to win again in 2020. Inshallah, you will see.
I can't wait to see that. I'm pretty sure Trump's gonna win 2020. I don't really see. I definitely don't see Bill Weld dethroning him at the Republican ticket, and I don't see any of these Democrats taking him out. And it's like, it's funny because I'm not really a Trump supporter. I go issue by issue. I like what I like. I don't like what I don't like. You know, um, but the Biden America is ridiculous between the avid Trump supporters and the avid Trump haters, so to speak. And holy crap, man, I've never seen anything like this, and I've lived through a couple presidencies now, so never seen anything quite like the madness that we're facing right now with this
Do
whole
you think
presidential
in
divide.
general? Do you think in general that's just how the discussion, not just politics and Trump, just in general, that's just how discussions have started. The mindset of discussions have started to take place now. It's just like everything just needs to be polarized now, otherwise it just doesn't work.
Well, I think the internet and social media getting bigger and becoming a bigger part of politics definitely helped us get to this process. It wasn't just because Trump is that polarizing, which I gotta admit he is. Um, but it's like had
But
a little had a little
go
brain
ahead.
fart there.
What happened?
I had a little brain fart right there. I completely lost track of my train of thought.
That's okay. That's okay. We can go to another train of thought now. No issues.
All right, yeah. Go to another train of thought. Just load right up into the station. Um, but like I was saying, Trump went to Britain, and you're seeing all these protests, and worse off, you're seeing all these Americans like cheering on the British. It's just like come on, like this is just like we don't even do that to them, and we're tasteless Americans. We're classless Americans, and we're not even doing that to them. Maybe we should, but
I don't know. I mean, okay. When elections were happening, you had all these videos going viral about people coming over protesting Trump, or like coming on stage and literally interfering, right? Like just what's that term? Party crashing, gate crashing at Trump rallies and stuff.
oh
Right?
yeah, counter
And
protest.
everybody was like cheering them on and like, yeah, that's how it should be. But
Mm.
how many did we see in reverse? How many uh, far right conservative people did we see coming up on or to left liberal rallies and just being gate crashing there? We didn't, right?
Well, like what I'll see like like because I follow a lot of conservative speakers and conservative journalists and all that, and I'll see things like they'll go to different Democrat rallies or liberal rallies, and just kind of follow people around the microphone and like ask them political questions or just kind of troll them. But you never really see anything violent out of them. There's always going to be a couple of cases, but I mean,
I mean, just based on all the videos that was going around, I mean, at most you'd see conservatives going there with a mic and asking questions. That's not the same as jumping on stage or start shouting or shout so the other person, the speaker can't even speak anymore. So
oh
I
yeah,
don't know, man. It's that on its own, I would say, is what made Trump won.
yeah.
There's a sizable. See, okay, I wasn't surprised because this was happening, and there's an uncle of mine who lives in America, and I clearly remember he stopped talking about Trump because they're like, why much support? So he just went silent, and I think a lot of people, that's what a lot of people did. They're like, okay, man, if we even say anything like, well, I kind of agree with this economic reforms. Oh, you must be racist. You must be a male chauvinist. I mean, Where does that even come from? What's that got to do with economic reforms? And so people just stayed silent. People just went silent. And then when it came election time, they went and voted.
Yep. Yeah. But actually, that was kind of what I was getting at. There was a lot of silent Trump supporters. The loudest voices in the room are always seen, but when it comes down to it, like all the silent people, like that's where you get all the nuanced people that ended up voting for Trump, and they'll probably vote for him again. And
Yes, inshallah.
yeah, I really don't see, like I said, I really don't see him being dethroned. Not quite. Well, obviously he only has one more term. But tell me who's gonna beat him, if anyone.
Oh,
I
God,
kind of
no.
I kind of like Andrew Yang, but I know he's not gonna win the Democratic nomination.
I'm not that knowledgeable about him, but
Yeah, I actually did the last episode I did was an episode talking about him. I mean, not ideal, but I mean, out of all the American politicians that we get handed, I mean, it's whatever. He's pretty good. Um, so to kind of keep going with the topics, because we're always talking politics. And what me and Kerm really like to talk about a lot is, theism, atheism, and of course Bigfoot.
oh yeah, Bigfoot.
The very unknown things of the universe. I've actually looked into the whole Bigfoot phenomenon. There's a lot of people who are very serious about trying to find Bigfoot.
I went looking for him.
You went looking for him?
Yeah.
How'd you do? See anything?
Well, as a consequence, yes, I did have one experience which had nothing to do with Bigfoot, but it's just like the uniqueness of that place, culturally speaking. Um, I walked through a forest which was littered with human skeletons.
Hmm.
That was pretty scary.
Yeah, you
So,
don't see that every day.
yeah, I mean, intact skeletons and skulls and everything.
Whew. Yeah.
So, all right. So basically, what it is okay. So first of all, Bigfoot is a term that's the word for Sasquatch, and it's everybody knows that because they make movies on it and stuff. But it's it's really a phenomenon, or there's a similar kind of belief all over the world in different regions.
Yeah, you talk about the Loch Ness monster and
I'm talking about specifically a hairy humanoid creature in the forest. The specifics are even the same. It's there in every culture.
oh yeah. You are right about that because I think Mexico has like a hairy man and stuff like that.
Russia has it, China has it, so we have it too.
So do you think that there is just this race of like hairy Yeti type creatures that we just keep missing?
Well, probabilities are always probabilities. I don't really do absolutes, but in most likelihood, what it is they're probably like bears. I mean, depending on the region,
Mm.
right? They're probably like bears which get misidentified. But that's if it really is there or not there is not really that important to me. What's more important is that the culture and the belief systems that start forming around it, right?
Mm.
That phenomena, like-minded people coming together, and the kind of theories that come up, and then all the additional stuff that gets attached to it, like it's no longer just a hidden cryptid animal misidentified or an actual hairy humanoid, but hey, it's got supernatural elements. It's ghosts, and UFO sightings happen in the area as well, etc., etc. But
Mm.
let me tell you about the one I went looking for, if you want to know.
Yeah. Please go on that story because
All right.
you saw human skeletons
Oh yeah,
scattered
so I'll tell you
around.
how that happens. So very quickly, I'll just hone in on that. So the region I went to is the northwestern part of Pakistan. It's like the Karakoram range, and the region is called Chitral, and we went further deep in a region called Kalash. And
Okay.
so what's interesting about Kailash, and this is some interesting stuff that Westerners might find interesting. So Kailash has this unique culture, this settlement, this community of people who uh, are known as the Kailashi, and their culture, their beliefs, their religion is very unique. So it's a bit of animism and pantheism and belief in forest spirits all thrown in there, right?
Hmm.
And this community and this culture is there, is intact, is living in this region of Pakistan. So now here's the interesting thing before I go into the forest and Bigfoot. Um, so by law, it is illegal to preach there.
Hmm.
Maybe like what? For a lot, that surprises a lot of people. I mean, even people over here. How can that be a law? But it apparently is. There are actually plaques there on various places which says preaching is illegal.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're actually seeing that with a lot of schools, like because well, we have the freedom of religion, so basically, a lot of public things can't have religious items on it.
Yeah,
It
but
has to have
we're
a yeah.
do you get it? We're a theocracy. We have that law. No one else. We just have it in that region.
Yeah. Now, when you say theocracy, like a lot of people will use that word and kind of loosely and not really know too much about it. Can you explain the function of a theocracy, especially where you live?
All right. So in our context, what that means is this. Um, Simply put, laws and I mean laws are in place, but you will have something like, for example, in our case, we have the Council of Islamic Ideology, which
Hmm.
pretty much is an advisory body to the government. It does not have the power to make laws, but it will give advice to the government if any of the existing laws are contradictory to Islam and religion and scripture,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And I think the biggest misconception that people have is how Sharia works, right? There is
Hmm.
no book called the Sharia. There's no monolithic rules of what Sharia is. Sharia is literally the process of deriving legalities and laws to help you govern a country from scripture. And since every country has different laws and how it interacts with this law, this derivation is going to be different
Hmm.
according to denomination. The scriptures change. So every country has a different Sharia. There is no one Sharia that all Muslim majority countries follow.
Hmm.
That's something important to understand. I think a lot of people don't get that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wasn't too sure exactly how it worked. And I didn't know that that's what that term actually meant, because like I said, people just make a big deal about things and they say Sharia law, and they don't really know what it is.
I mean, one man's Sharia law is another man's Star Wars. I mean, it's literally you're going to find such a differentiating contrast between one country's Sharia and another country's Sharia. You're like, okay, why does everybody go around talking about Sharia? There's this mountain which has the Sharia laws written there, and every president from a Muslim country goes and reads that. That's not how it happens.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, obviously, we're not taking it out of a holy book. We're taking it out of a constitution, but that's almost like the same thing we have. It would be the court justices that have the power over it, and they actually have, voting power and Supreme Court cases. But it's the same concept. They're reading from the document to see what laws are just with the American culture, so to speak. Just like your country is doing the same. So it ends up not really being too different when you think about it like that.
I mean, maybe thematically it would, but yeah, I mean, mechanically maybe it's not as different as we think.
Mm,
You know? So I thought that was interesting. Oh, sorry. So train of thought. So yeah, so the reason why I encountered a forest filled with human remains is because uh, that's their burial system. That's that they don't sorry, they don't their funerary rites are like that. They don't bury them; they just put them there in the forest. So that's why, it was surprising to me because I didn't know that. So when I went there, I'm like, dude, why are there skeletons and skulls all over the place? But that's how we do it here. We put them in the forest. We have a funerary rite and stuff, and then we go away. So I'm like, whoa, man! I was so glad I saw no fresh like funeral happening, because that would have been too much for me. But that was an interesting experience.
So all this was for a ritual. Like there were actually human bones, just kind of lying around. This is just a ritual, and these are, the normal customs of,
Kalash.
these pantheists, as you call them in Pakistan.
Yeah, yeah. And so what's interesting is, so like, we are a theocracy and we are an Islamic Muslim majority country, but so it baffles people, why would we have a law which stops us for which actually says don't preach here? That's because apparently, and one can pull up articles on that. The Kalashi culture is really unique.
Hmm.
There's sort of like 5 Kalashi villages, and they amongst the villages even they have variants, and so to preserve that unique culture, but two, okay, this is an important one, is if that culture is lost, we lose a big chunk of the tourism that comes there.
Oh yeah, yeah, but that's key. Um, yeah, actually, now that I think of it, it's almost kind of like the Native Americans here. They'll have like kind of like sanctuaries. They're called something certain.
Reservation.
Reservations. Thank you. The word slipped my mind. So they have Indian reservations, and it's. I mean, nothing that extreme. I've never seen a bunch of bones lying around, but I've been to a couple different Indian reservations, and it's basically like certain laws just do not apply there. They're kind of like their own province. So like you were saying with you can't preach over there. It's like it's almost like a different section of the country.
Yeah, it is. It does feel that way. Yeah. Well, it's a fun place to go, I must say.
Yeah, I think I'd probably run out of there pretty quick if I saw bones and shit everywhere. That's just me.
Oh, that's just this. I mean, the 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 route you have to take to get to those places at times, just like literally you're driving up hills, and it's like, it's like this. Just if you just pop over to the right and you look over your car, you'll actually see a ravine drop down. It's like it's not for everybody. It's a difficult place to get to. And then obviously the stories and tales. I collected a lot. I did a lot of interviews there with people who supposedly saw or heard the Burmanu. That's what we call Bigfoot. And yeah, lots of fun, man. Very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, that just sounds like such a crazy experience right there.
So
All that from searching for Bigfoot, huh?
yeah, so I don't know how much time we have left, but so very quickly before we forget that part. So one thing interesting that me and Michael have found with Bigfoot is a lot of atheists bring him up a lot. I think I'll let Michael talk about that part.
Actually, I was just kind of gonna mention that and go on to that. You know, we're in a couple different religious groups, and obviously the God topic comes up, and the atheists will say like, oh well, I don't believe in God, the same way that I don't believe in Bigfoot. So me and Karam decided to troll everyone by saying that the atheists are obsessed with Bigfoot. And they get all defensive, like, oh no, no we're not, no we're not.
I was, by the way, I wasn't trolling. It was a genuine, sincere observation on my part. I actually, because I mean, I'm into cryptozoology and wagara wagara. So it was interesting how it was very specific. It was hardly ever Yeti. It was always Bigfoot.
Yeah, yeah, they always made a distinct Bigfoot.
So
Um,
I just found that, I sincerely found that interesting. Why specifically Bigfoot. I mean, once or twice Loch Ness monster came up. Believing in God is like believing in Loch Ness monster, but it was almost always every second comment would have Bigfoot. Sasquatch, specifically Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So I found that quite fascinating.
Bigfoot, alien, ghosts. So yeah, I guess Kerm wasn't trolling. He was genuine, being sincere in his questions, but I was certainly trolling the whole
I'm a
time.
sincere, genuine troller.
I go right for the throat. Um, but like I always made the argument, like like because I mean, take the Loch Ness monster. Like Loch Ness monster is centralized in one spot. It's in a particular lake in Scotland. Um, So it's like you can like kind of like pull that place out and see that there's no Loch Ness monster in there and kind of disprove that one specific thing. But if you find like a similar, like just say like you go way deep into the sea because we haven't like research, we haven't found like so much of our sea. We don't know like half the shit that's down there, and we find like just this whole community of Loch Ness monster type creatures. Then is the Loch Ness monster that hard to believe?
Yeah, I mean, honestly speaking, I don't see the comparison, and for the reasons you give, but I give you another reason as well. There is actually a precedence in us not believing in certain animals, and then we finding out that they exist. I mean, if you mentioned the sea, so we've for years and years we've had tales of sea serpents. Then suddenly we've discovered oarfishes and stuff like that. Maybe that's like the way they swim in the water, the way the body structures. Hey, that's exactly what these medieval fishermen were probably describing. You know,
Oh
then we
yeah,
have giant squids, which is a recent phenomenon. Like now we know that they get that big, right?
yeah,
So again, we have a precedence of believing in something that we have never had evidence of animals, and then we find out they're true. So it's I don't really see the comparison between Bigfoot, Loch Ness monster, to God.
yeah, yeah. I never got that connection either. I mean, no one claims that Bigfoot created the universe. So same thing with Loch Ness monster or the Tooth Fairy. Um, but that's a story for another day. I'd love to get like a nice like theology talk. You could represent the Muslim side.
Sure.
I'm kind of more of a deist or a pantheist, so to speak.
I
We
mean,
can
I
have an
only knew
atheist
about
on.
Spinoza because of you, So, and I read up a lot on it because I didn't know about it before I met you. So,
Yeah, I definitely ignited the Spinoza flame for. I mean, I've actually not mentioned Spinoza on my show yet, but I am a big Spinoza
that's
fan. A philosopher named Baruch Spinoza. He's a theologian. I just give him a quick Google if you've never heard of him before. Very worth it. Um, and I'm not completely sold on Spinoza, but I usually kind of argue from a Spinozan perspective, so to speak. Um, so yeah, I would love to get an episode with you, maybe a Christian, me, and an atheist, and we can really have fun with this whole theology topic because
that'd be awesome.
we're gonna have a lot of different voices in the room.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have more than two. Like that would be interesting.
Oh yeah, well I don't want to go over 5. Like I think 5 is like the absolute limit I would go on my show, including myself. So me and 4 guests would be like the top, but 4 people would be perfect for this. So hopefully we get an atheist and we get a Christian. We can sit here and talk a little bit about God or
That'd be cool.
or the lack thereof from the atheist perspective.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool.
All right, man. Well, with that
Uh,
being said, kind of set it up for. I mean, obviously not next episode. It'll take a while to get that set up. Maybe it'll be next episode, but with that being said, I'm gonna close this one out. There's been episode 5 with Kerm Khan again, talking a little bit of Trump and American to Pakistani differences. So I'll catch you next time. This has been the DL Show.
All
Catch
right.
you later.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.